Hello everyone, Rendell Ulrich here. I'd like to address the next couple of weeks worth of assignments with you and show you some of the things that are coming up, specifically addressing weeks 4, 5, and 6. So let's start with week 4. For week 4, which you see I have up on the screen, you have your discussion question, which hinges on the assigned reading that you have. So looking at the assigned reading folder, once you pull that up, you'll see a series of references in here. The first one is Flipped Classroom. That's your textbook. And, of course, that's going to be dedicated to your literature circles. And I have 3 separate entries here. These are posted links to different articles that you can pull up. But the one that I want to call attention to here, this is an electronic textbook. The book itself is Learning and Instructional Technologies for the 21st Century, Visions of the Future. And you see here there are 3 editors for that book. You're going to be reading one specific chapter within that e-text, and that's the one where the author is J.M. Spector, and the title on that is Adventures and Advances in Instructional Design Theory and Practice. So in order to go retrieve that text, which I've addressed in a prior message that I sent to you, but let's review it here, click on this link that I provided, Sac State Library. And once that comes up, the first thing you want to do is go to Advanced Search, and then you can copy and paste that title into the search field. I've looked for it before, so it's already listed here for me, and then click on Search. Once that comes up, you'll get a listing for an e-link to the library, and if it's the first time that you've accessed the site, it'll ask for your ID and password, your SacLink ID and password, and then it'll ask, if it's the first time you're accessing the file, it'll ask you for, do you want to go through your library or do you want to go in as a guest? You want to go through your library, and it's going to check your SacLink ID and password, and it knows that you're coming from Sac State. So once you've pulled up this particular file, so you've done the search, it's retrieved this copy, this is the book you want, you see that it's an e-book, and you see the authors here. Click on the link for the title. Once you click on that link, that's where you see the screen where it says e-book library. So once you click on that link, if it's the first time that you're coming to this site, you want to plug in your SacLink user ID and then your password. And then it will ask, do you want to go through your library or as a guest? So you want to go through the library. So click on that link for the library, and that will take you to that ebook. And this is the book you want, Learning and Instructional Technologies for the 21st Century. And there's a couple of ways that you can access this book. You can either read it online or you can do a download on this. But let's take a look at reading it online first. So click on this link for reading it online, and it will pull up the book, and you'll see that all the chapters are listed. The first chapter is the one that you want, Adventures and Advances in Instructional Design Theory and Practice. So click on that link, and it'll pull up that chapter for you. And as you see, it's got the author listed, Spector. And this goes from pages 1 through 14, and you'll be reading this entire chapter. Once you've pulled all that up, like I say, you can either read it online or you can download it. If you choose to download it, which is checking it out, there's a series of tabs on the left-hand side of the screen here, one of which is marked Download. If you click on that, you'll see that you can access the file as a PDF document. What you do need to pay attention to is Adobe Digital Editions is required to read all EBL ebook downloads, which means you need to have Adobe Digital Editions if you want to check out this book, download it, and then read it offline. If you're going to do that, if you already have digital editions, you're fine. You can just go ahead and download the file. You can see that here. If you do not have it, you're going to need to get it. So you can either do a manual installation, or when you go to do the download and it tells you Adobe Digital Editions is required, so you click on that link and it will take you to Adobe site and you can download that. Alternately, if you take a look in the folder that I've put together, you'll see that I have a section here about checking out the book and about Adobe Digital Editions. So you can also go to Adobe site directly from here, and then you can download digital editions, and you'll be able to download that book. So that is for week 4, the assigned reading. Now, as far as your discussion question, once you click on that, there are already some options, some responses here already plugged in, and respond to the discussion question based on that reading. One other item that I'd like to mention about that assigned reading. You'll see that at the bottom here, I've included the reference for this particular book, and the formatting on this is you are looking at a chapter within an edited text. Therefore, the format that you find here, you find the individual author and then the title of that particular chapter, and then it'll show that it's a series of editors and this is the book that it's looking at. So you can copy and paste this reference into your responses. So let's take a look at week 5. And there's a series of things that you're going to want to look out for. During that week, on the 1st, we're going to have a group online web conferencing session. So we'll be running that. You should have already received instructions about getting set up for Collaborate. You do need to make sure that your computer is good to go before we start. You also want to make sure that you have good speakers and a microphone or a headset with a microphone. And you do want to make sure that those work in advance and make sure you're all set up for that. We don't want to spend a lot of time, class time, getting ready. So you have the ability to get in as early as 30 minutes before the start of the session. Get there at least 15 minutes in advance to work out any problems or issues that you might have as far as your headset or your microphone or sound levels or anything else. Make sure that you're getting in at least 15 minutes early so that we can start at the top of the hour. Other than that, what I want to call attention to for this week, you have a series of items here, and your discussion question and your assignment all hinge on your assigned reading. So from the assigned reading, let's take a look at that first. What you're going to be doing as an assignment is an annotated bibliography. If you haven't had a chance to do those yet, there are a number of options as far as finding out further information, but certainly your first source is your APA manual for how to do annotated bibliographies. And what you're going to be doing is, as you see on the screen here, there are 5 different areas that you can address. It's either learning theory generally, learning theory as applied to online learning, best practices in online teaching, and then 2 here, impacts on education, whether it relates to learning online and the impacts on education, how it impacts teaching online. So you pick one of those following topics, and then the assignment is to choose 5 articles as it relates to one of these topics. So pick a topic, and then you'll find 5 journal articles as your sources. And that becomes your assignment. You are doing annotated bibliographies on all of those 5 sources. Now, your discussion question also hinges on the 5 sources that you picked. So let's take a look at that as well. So we've looked at the Collaborate session. We've looked at assigned reading. Let's quickly take a look. Annotated bibliography. This information is repeated here as well, how to do that. And then under your resources folder, I've listed how to do annotated bibliographies. I have some samples there for you. You can go take a look at those. You also have your APA manuals. So here's your assignment. Here are the resources that are available. And then you have your discussion question. And let me address this specifically. Read the instructions very carefully on this section. Some of this is also repeated in the discussion question itself. For this particular discussion, you are going to base it on the 5 articles you read. You are going to include both the statement portion and the question portion, and then you'll address those. So in the statement portion, it says, based upon my research and readings in the area of, and what that area of refers to is one of those 5 topics, learning theory, impacts on education, whichever one you pick. That's what's going to go in this blank. Then you're going to say, I agree or disagree that the research findings or the conclusions or recommendations are directly applicable to my particular field in education. So you're going to fill in the blank with whatever topic you picked. And the question you're addressing is, why do you agree or disagree with the research or the readings. And remember to support your position with at least 2 sources, and be sure to include your APA formatted references at the end of your response. So when you respond to this question, the statement and the question, copy and paste that entire section into your response, and then in the statement portion, you're going to fill in the blank with your topic, and then the question portion, you then address why you agree or disagree with the research. And all of that is going to be based on the 5 articles you picked for your annotated bibliography. So that's what the rest of this addresses. So down at the bottom here, respond to the original discussion question posted here, and it says include the statement and the question portions in your response. So make sure this whole piece is copied and pasted into your response. Now, when you respond to your peers, note the items I've got down here. If the peer you're responding to has chosen the same topic or area as you can respond directly and draw upon your own resources. You have 5 articles, you've covered that topic, you have your own sources. They may be different from your peer, but you have your own sources, but you have the topic in common. Second bullet item, if you're responding to a peer who has chosen a different topic, retrieve the sources your peer included at the end of the original response. So make sure you include all of your APA formats in your response, because your peer has to go get that reference. So if you're responding, retrieve the sources that your peer included and use those sources to respond to your peer. So since your peer included those, go retrieve them, read them, and then respond to your peer. And that's if your peer that you're responding to has chosen a different topic from you. So that is week 5. So in week 5, we have our online meeting on the 1st, 7 p.m. Your assigned reading will list for you what you have to do. Pick your area, pick 5 articles, and then do your annotated bibliography. Now for week 6, again, assigned readings are going to impact your discussion question. So for the assigned readings, this is going to be a little different. You have 2 ebooks. These are required for week 6. So the first ebook is Best Practices for Teaching with Emerging Technologies. You're going to retrieve that text just like you retrieve the other one for week 4. You're going to go to the library. You're going to plug in that title and then pull out that e-text and then either read it online or download it, and you need Adobe Digital Editions. When you pull up this first text, you are going to read the introduction, chapter 1, chapter 2. You're free to read any others, but this is the required portions. Introduction, chapter 1, chapter 2. The reference on this particular one I've listed here as well. The second ebook required for this week, you are going to pull up Online Teaching Survival Guide, Simple and Practical Pedagogical Tips. Again, you're going to go to Sac State's online library. You're going to search for this title. You're going to pull this up, and the required reading will be Part 1, Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3. Again, the reference at the bottom here, this is what you're looking for. Now, I've included other, and if you notice, they are highlighted in red, optional reading. I encourage you to read them. I know that there's a lot of reading. You have another class, I understand. These are marked as optional reading. These are attached documents. You can download those and then read those. Mostly they're fairly short, so read them at your leisure, use them or not, as you see fit. Based on the reading at least of these 2 ebooks for this week for your discussion question, notice that you are going to respond to the question, and you are comparing your flipped classroom text and the ebooks that you've pulled up for week 6. So you are going to follow your instructions here. So based on this, there are 2 portions you're answering. Compare all 3 books. How are they alike? How are they different? And then looking at the 2 ebooks that you've pulled up, here I ask, what is the #1 takeaway that you got from these authors when it comes to best practices in online teaching? If you choose to answer the next question, that's up to you. It's an optional question. I ask, again, comparing those two ebooks that you've retrieved, what would you say is the number one takeaway that you got when it comes to the principles of online learning? So one talks about best practices in online teaching. The second one is the principles of online learning. And notice the second portion is optional. So the comparison is required, and the comparison of the two e-texts is required, but the third portion, that's an optional question. That's up to you. So I wanted to make sure that I address these items that are coming up. Again, comments, questions, concerns, send me an email. If there's any questions that you have, any clarifications I need to give, if you're having any problems with that, let me know. If you do have technical problems, make sure that you're contacting IRT. All right, thank you very much.